From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
The federal government resuming executions after 2 decades. One of the first 5 people to be killed is a murderer, sitting on death row in Arizona.
These people need to understand that this is our home.
Plus, families on edge tonight as hundreds of personnel continue to fight the museum fire burning near Flagstaff. We'll show you what crews are doing to stop the flames from spreading.
And the kind of glasses you should buy to protect your eyes from the sun.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Sabina Zovchik.
And I'm Gabriel Moreno. Thank you for joining us. Our big story tonight, the federal government is resuming capital punishment.
They'll move forward with plans to execute 5 inmates on death row for the first time in 16 years. One of the 5 is from right here in Arizona. Lesmond Mitchell was convicted and sentenced to death in the grisly 2001 beating and stabbing murders of a woman and her 9-year-old granddaughter on the Navajo Nation reservation.
Cronkite News reporter Bain Froney is live in the control room with more on this case and today's ruling. Bain?
Attorney General William Barr has proposed an addendum to resume capital punishment, execution. It has been nearly 2 decades since the federal government executed a prisoner. Barr asked the Federal Bureau of Prisoners to schedule executions of 5 inmates who were found guilty of murdering what the Justice Department called the most vulnerable in our society, the elderly and children. One of these inmates is Lesmond Mitchell, who was found guilty of murdering a woman and her granddaughter on the Navajo Nation in 2001. Mitchell and others stole Alice Slim's pickup truck, abducting her and her granddaughter. According to the Justice Department, Slim was stabbed to death and Mitchell forced her granddaughter to sit with her lifeless grandmother in the back of the truck for more than 30 miles. Mitchell then cut the girl's throat and dropped rocks on her head, killing her. Defense attorneys say Mitchell had mental and emotional problems. The Navajo Nation opposed giving him the death penalty at the time. According to the Justice Department, each of the 5 inmates have exhausted all appeal efforts. The 5 inmates who have been sentenced to death are scheduled to be executed starting in December. In the control room, Bain Froney, Cronkite News.
To read more about this Arizona case and share it with your friends and family, we've posted a link on our website, cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
As the museum fire continues to burn just 2 miles away from northern Flagstaff, officials have decided to bring on federal investigators in order to figure out what caused the blaze. Cronkite News reporter Marcela Vallejo headed up to Flagstaff to see what officials are doing to prevent these fires from starting in the first place. Marcela?
Aside from the monsoon, fire officials also depend on thinning out the forest in order to prevent fires like this one from happening. That sound is all too familiar in Flagstaff to some locals like Jamie Tafoya. Tafoya, a mom of 2, says she's afraid the museum fire could be inching closer and closer to their community.
These people need to understand this is our home that they're destroying and not caring about when they start fires or have a campfire or throw a cigarette out the window.
Hoping to prevent these fires from starting, officials with the Coconino National Forest have implemented thinning practices. Companies are contracted to cut out trees either by helicopter or by hand.
There's been helicopter logging units up there that it has burned into a little bit, and another one called the Weatherford unit that it burned into.
And some of those helicopter units were in the area before the museum fire started up until last Friday. Loggers were working on trucking out these large piles of logs called decks.
That wasn't the last of the decks. There's other decks up there, and those are basically, we're going to be put up for sale. But, of course, this fire happened.
For now, loggers must wait until the fire has been completely put out before they can even see if any decks can be saved. Back in downtown Flagstaff, tourists and locals say they understand this is just a part of life up north.
Smoke's always an issue with people out in the woods or in town, but we got to live with the changing times.
And that was the beautiful side, the side that hadn't been burned, so it's devastating, but we'll regrow.
The latest information indicates that the museum fire is currently 12% contained and that the U.S. Forest Service has been brought in order to investigate what started the blaze. At the digital desk, Marcelo Baedo, Cronkite News.
The White House today condemning a federal judge's order that requires President Donald Trump to stop denying asylum to Central American migrants who enter the U.S. through Mexico. Yesterday, a federal judge in California blocked the Trump administration's new asylum rule, which took effect a little over a week ago. According to the California judge, the rule is likely invalid because it is inconsistent with current asylum laws.
While courts were weighing the administration's asylum policy, members of Congress were grilling administration officials over conditions at border detention facilities and policies on separating migrant parents from their children. Cronkite News reporter Julian Paras is live with details from today's House Judiciary Committee hearing in Washington.
It was just yesterday that Judiciary Committee members were sparring over the testimony of former Special Counsel Robert Mueller. And just like then, Democrats and Republicans on the committee today argued over the goals of the hearing. And just like then, emotions were still a little raw. Republicans charged that today's hearing on family separation and the conditions of immigration detention facilities was a little more than a Democratic attempt to score political points.
Look, I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna read this. You know what is dehumanizing? It's continuing to bring the same witnesses or the same people from the same agencies to talk about this over and over and over again. What's dehumanizing is doing that and not doing anything about it.
Democrats shot back that Republicans are ignoring real problems at the border, citing the case of a 3-year-old Honduran girl who had to choose between her mother, who was staying in the U.S., and her father, who was being deported.
Asking a 3-year-old child to choose between their parents, not knowing if they'll ever see one again, is unconscionable and traumatic to a child.
No one at the hearing claimed the situation at the border is good. Facilities have been overwhelmed by the surge in immigrants, many coming through with children the system is not used to handling. Customs and Border Patrol Chief Brian Hastings said his agency is working to provide as much care as possible. But an inspector with the Department of Homeland Security said detention centers are filled to overflowing.
When our team arrived at the El Paso del Norte Processing Center, they found that the facility, which has a maximum capacity of 125 detainees, had more than 750 detainees on site. The following day, that number had increased to 900.
Shaw said the conditions pose a threat to both the migrants and to the federal agencies overseeing their custody. Arizona Representative Andy Biggs said Congress is largely to blame for the problem.
If you want to solve separation, we would do more than have hearings, because there isn't anybody in this room that doesn't want to deal with the situations that are horrific along the border.
But Arizona Representative Greg Stanton said he is less concerned about assigning blame than he is worried about the situation now.
Securing the border and treating children humanely are not competing values. And this administration's family separation practice deeply concerns me.
Congress did approve billions in emergency funding for border operations just last month. That money went toward additional shelters, among other uses. And today, officials told Stanton that Phoenix is one of a handful of cities still being eyed for another detention facility. In Washington, Julian Paras, Cronkite News.
Not only did I self-report, I turned my entire Facebook account over to the Office of Professional Responsibility. And when I say that, I gave them my login and my password so they had full access to my account.
The head of U.S. Border Patrol says she joined a Facebook group that mocked migrants and lawmakers in order to read what personnel thought of her. When the Facebook post became public, Chief Carla Provost condemned them without noting she was a member. There are 62 current and 8 former Border Patrol employees under investigation concerning their involvement in the I'm 1015 Facebook group.
Right now, we're under another ozone high pollution advisory, so you may want to limit your time outside if you have difficulty breathing. Not to mention, it's hot out there.
Yes, it is. According to the University of Arizona Medical School in Phoenix, Arizonians experience about 4,000 hours of sunshine each year. And although the sun can raise endorphin levels, creating a happier state of mind, it can also cause severe eye damage.
Lindsay Amundsen is joining us now with more on the impact the sun has on our eyes.
I spoke with Dr. Robin Ross, the Chief Medical Officer at Global Retina Institute. She says the most common impact from the sun's UV rays are dry eye and pterygium growths that move across the cornea and pupils, causing significant vision loss. Surgery can fix it, but there's a 50% chance they will grow back. Sun damage is also cumulative, so it's important to start wearing proper eye protection at a young age. Dr. Ross says this means wearing sunglasses that are UV 400, meaning they protect against 100% of the harmful UV rays. The sun's rays can also cause early aging cataracts, which are the leading cause of blindness around the world.
People will be blind in their 20s and early 30s because of the powerful rays of the ultraviolet sun that do damage. And here in Arizona, we even see more people having cataract surgery earlier in their life rather than waiting to 60s, 70s, and 80s. They're having it in 30s and 40s because they were never told and taught early as kids to wear sunglasses.
Ross encourages everyone to shop smart when it comes to your eyes. That means paying attention to labels. Make sure the sunglasses you buy for yourself and your children are UV 400. Live in the studio, Lindsay Amundsen, Cronkite News.
A famous historic destination right here in Arizona being recognized worldwide for its cultural heritage.
Columbine High School making some changes due to growing threats and thousands of curious trespassers coming on campus since the 1999 massacre. Those stories and more after the break.
All of its children had come to the Mother Church of Country Music. It was almost like a badge of honor that you had to bring your culture with you to the table. That's why Bob Wills and his guys brought us Western music. That's why Hank Williams brought the South with him from honky tonks. Johnny Cash brought the black land dirt of Arkansas. Bill Monroe brought music out of Kentucky bluegrass music. Willie Nelson brought his poetry from Texas. Patsy Cline brought her heartache from Virginia. I mean, it was the most wonderful parade of sons and daughters of America that brought their hearts and their souls and their experiences, and it gave us a great era in country music.
A historic Scottsdale home and school received a prestigious global designation earlier this month.
Cronkite News reporter Amanda Slee joins us now in the broadcast center to explain.
Frank Lloyd Wright was a famous architect that created his works by responding to the environment he was in and the needs of American society. Some even say he was a pioneer of modern 20th century architecture in America.
Wright created what he called the desert camp here.
Taliesin West was Frank Lloyd Wright's winter home and school for future architects, and it was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List on July 7th.
The World Heritage Council recognizes historic sites and landscapes for their outstanding universal value to worldwide culture and cultural heritage.
8 Frank Lloyd Wright sites, including Wright's summer home and school, Taliesin East in Wisconsin, were recognized as World Heritage Sites. Also on that list was the Guggenheim Museum in New York.
They recognized the 8 Frank Lloyd Wright sites because of Wright's innovative use of materials, his ideas of looking at architecture in a new way, creating new ways to use and form space to meet modern lifestyle.
Taliesin West is now one of 2 Arizona places to be on the World Heritage List, the other being Grand Canyon National Park.
No, I think everybody was really excited. We popped a bottle of champagne and celebrated.
Architect and previous Taliesin graduate Christopher Gritzmacher says Wright's school worked to shape how he approaches architecture. The Phoenix-based architect says students live at Taliesin and spend 24 hours a day with each other.
It does lend itself to different interactions and different sort of friendships and different
work relationships with people I don't think you'd ever get otherwise.
Students of the school are required to do a variety of different duties. For example, they put on a show in the cabaret for guests and cook for events.
I actually cooked for one of the formals, which was really cool because I made a rosemary leg of lamb and just kind of came up with this whole menu on my own, which is pretty incredible stuff for cooking for 100 people.
He says students only get a month off from school a year. That is split up into two-week periods known as migration. Students study at the Wisconsin campus in summer and the Scottsdale campus in winter.
Because it's pretty unconventional. It's a private school and you're living on campus. You're kind of doing all of those things that you don't really do otherwise. It's almost kind of like a cooperative education experience.
Taliesin West receives more than 100,000 visitors a year, but officials hope this World Heritage designation will spark more public interest in the cultural building. In the Broadcast Center, Amanda Slee, Cronkite News.
Here are two national headlines we're tracking today. First, the governor of Puerto Rico resigning under the pressure of protests and calls for him to step down. Governor Ricardo Rosselló announcing his resignation overnight and set to officially resign at the end of next week. Thousands of people crowded the streets of San Juan, Puerto Rico to celebrate the news with fireworks, drumming, music, and cheering. Justice Secretary Wanda Vasquez will likely take his place as governor.
And Columbine High School won't be torn down and rebuilt. In 1999, 12 students and a teacher were shot and killed in a mass shooting. The school district discussed the idea of demolishing the building to help curb the record number of people trying to enter the school illegally. Officials say last school year, 2,400 people tried to visit the property, but the district says they surveyed nearly 7,000 people, and over half did not want the school to be torn down. Up next, ASU and NASA join forces for the Lucy mission in hopes of discovering how our solar system was created.
They're exploring what these human-like remains and Trojan asteroids have in common. We'll explain why after the break.
Cronkite Noticias is the Spanish-speaking division of Cronkite News, covering topics such as economics, education, sustainability, immigration, and border relations. Cronkite Noticias strives to serve the Spanish-speaking community in Arizona. Under the guidance of prominent Spanish-speaking professionals, students at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism develop content for our broadcast partner, Univision, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Explore Cronkite Noticias at cronkitenoticias.azpbs.org.
ASU and NASA researchers are preparing the first ever mission to explore Trojan asteroids. It's called the Lucy mission.
As you may know, the fossil of an over 3 million year old female hominid was found in 1974 and they called her Lucy. But what is the relation between Lucy and a project that pretends to provide light in exploring space?
Ethiopia, 1974. Paleoanthropologists Tom Gray and Donald Johanson discovered this skeleton. It's tested and proves to be more than 3 million years old. It's a hominid, not a human, but possibly one of our earliest ancestors. It's female. They name her Lucy. It's now regarded as the most important fossil hominid ever found.
Recently, a few years ago, I received an email from a NASA researcher, and the email opened by, "This may be the strangest email you've ever received." And Hal Levison is a researcher for NASA, and he has proposed a mission which will take place in 2021, and ASU is very involved with NASA, as you know, and a lot of scholars here are working on this project with NASA. And the project is called the Lucy mission. And it is a rocket that will be sent to study the asteroids, the Trojan asteroids between Jupiter and Mars. And those asteroids, astronomers have always thought, are the remnants of when the solar system was created, the things that didn't accrete, didn't collect enough to make a planet, but they're out there floating around.
The gravity of Jupiter, the gravity of the Sun has captured a cluster of asteroids. Some are moving in front of Jupiter, some move behind Jupiter. but they've been captured there billions of years ago. And these might very well be primitive, frozen relics of the first few million years of the solar system. They might be covered with ice, they might be covered with organic material.
And we may gain some real insight into how our solar system originated. This expedition is said, and is hopeful, that the Lucy mission will tell us as much about how our solar system was created as Lucy did about how humans originated. I'd never thought of the connection between space and Lucy herself. And I feel very honored about it. I'm very excited that it's happening on our campus with many of our people who are connected with NASA. And I look forward to that launch in 2021, which is going to be down at Cape Canaveral, and you can bet I'll be there.
The Lucy mission will sample a diverse set of Trojans that covers a broad range of color, size, rotation, and likely other physical properties. In this way, Lucy will provide a better basis for understanding what the early building blocks of planets may have been.
I mean, who would have known that bones and asteroids could be connected like that?
I sure wouldn't, and fortunately, they're not headed our way. Bane, what does the last weekend in July look like?
Yeah, we're definitely not expecting any asteroids that I know of, but we are expecting those triple digits to continue with us. Right now, we're currently at about 107 degrees here in Phoenix. If we take a look further down south, we are going to be seeing 99 degrees in Tucson, and taking a look up north, we're seeing those mid-80s and even 90s if you're up there in Page as well. Later tonight, we're going to be cooling down here in Phoenix just a little bit, though. About 98 degrees is what we're expecting around 10 o'clock. We're going to be seeing some clouds all throughout the night. That should be cleared up by tomorrow and throughout the weekend up until Sunday. On Saturday, we're expecting a high of 111, and same on Sunday, but we are expecting some rain to cool us down just a little bit. On Monday, we're going to be seeing that sunshine once again, and Wednesday is going to be our coolest day with 97 degrees. In the Weather Center, I'm Bane Froney, Cronkite News.
Wiener Mania. When we come back, they may not be greyhounds, but that didn't stop these small furry friends from taking to the racetrack this weekend.
Stay in the know on the go. At Cronkite News, we work hard to report the facts and keep you updated, whether we're on set or on the scene.
Taking it from the studio to the field. So I'm here in South Phoenix.
In Phoenix, we're just a click away. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we will look at how state officials are urging schools to help get kids vaccinated, and what one agency is doing to get Arizona's young people ready for the workforce. It's on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next News Hour. What's the buzz around new technology to combat the dying off of bees? That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
A local family-run sporting goods store seems to be keeping up with the big leagues, especially in the slow summer season. Our reporter Emmy Keenan had the chance to catch up with the business owners. Emmy?
You are absolutely right, Sabina. The C&S Sporting Goods store here in Phoenix has been around for 8 years now. Ran by a husband and wife, the two say that their local business can compete with any large chain.
A really neat thing is the trade-in opportunity. And buying used, you save a ton of money if and we only carry good quality used equipment. We compete with the big box stores. Anybody can come in here and feel confident they're going to get the best deal. We price match anybody. Anybody online, Dick's Sporting Goods, if it's the same item, we match it.
This sporting goods store has it all. But the main thing customers love to see is one special employee.
That's our dog Buddy, Springer Spaniel. He's been coming in since he was 8 weeks old. So just the cutest, nicest dog you'll ever meet. But yeah, he's usually off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, but usually he's here the rest of the time. People will come to the store just to see Buddy.
While this one seems to be paid in treats, it seems that this local business is thriving off of its family-run environment. In the studio, Emmy Keenan, Cronkite News.
Arizona Downs is a racetrack in Prescott, Arizona.
Last Saturday, they opened their gates with a very unique race. Ryan Sundin has the story.
Wiener Mania has invaded the Prescott Valley.
dog people from all corners of the Grand Canyon State traveled to Arizona Downs to see who is the fastest wiener dog.
People love dogs, obviously.
And again, just touch on a few
we love horse racing, we love dogs, and we get people here to learn about horse racing because of the dogs. That's a great thing. We've got a lot of people here who have never been to a horse race before, and they're having a great time with the horse races and the dog races. AARF is a local dog rescue organization, and when we contacted them to see if they wanted to be involved, they jumped on it. They actually told us when they did a call out for volunteers, they had more volunteers than they've ever had volunteer before, because I think a lot of them wanted to come watch the Wiener Dog races.
The racetrack held a 50-50 raffle to support AARF. People bought raffle tickets and put them in a silver tin for which wiener they thought would prevail.
Yeah, I did know about the charity. I think it's a great cause, anything to help animals out.
The raffle raised nearly $1,700 for the animal sanctuary. Arizona Downs will continue to help out other foundations in future races. In Prescott Valley, where everyone is a wiener, I'm Ryan Sundin, Cronkite News.
Well, that's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you back here at 5 p.m. tomorrow.